Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming and for attending the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson Candidate Forum. We're changing our name, so very soon we will be the League of Women Voters of Southern Arizona. And to that end, to our beautiful Southern Arizona, as a league, we want to recognize and acknowledge the ancestral people, culture, and history of those that have been stewards of the land we live in for thousands of years. For over 100 years, the League of Women Voters' mission has been to register voters, to provide voter education, and to protect our voting rights. This candidate forum will provide you, the voters, an opportunity to hear from the candidates, learn about what they think is important about being your elected officials in your community. Thank you very much for running for office. It is part of our democracy to have people step up and be public servants. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lovely Ganthier, our moderator.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I want to thank you again for being here and becoming better informed voters. I also want to thank the Oro Valley Public Library for providing this space for us to gather today. And I want to acknowledge the volunteers that are assisting us today. So assisting us are timekeepers Sue DeArmond and Pat Markey. Please be watchful of them. They will be making sure that our forum runs smoothly and that our candidates stay on task with their questions. I also want to acknowledge our question sorters, Betsy Woodhouse, Maura Raffensberger, and Taylor Miranda. And our question gatherers in the back, Dr. Cherie Meeks, RG Harding, and Jill Lenore Bishop. All right. I note that I myself do not live within the city limits of Oro Valley. I will not be voting in this election. Therefore, I am a neutral party. The forum will consist primarily of asking the candidates questions, your questions. Thank you for those of you that have already submitted them. You would find, for those that haven't yet, pencil and paper on your chair. Please write legibly your questions on the card and raise your hand. Our question sorters will be right there to pick them up. They will pass them to me. We sort the questions to ensure that the same question is not asked multiple times and to make sure that we can cover a broad array of topics with our candidates. Please keep in mind that you want to keep the questions brief as much as possible. All right. We apologize up front if time does not allow us to be able to address all of the questions. All right, so we have two candidates here, Rhonda Piña and Matt Wood. We will have 2 minutes for opening remarks, beginning with Rhonda and then following with Matt.
Okay. Thank you, Lovely. Thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon. I appreciate your time. I'm Rhonda Piña. I'm a second-generation Tucsonan. I have a bachelor's in business management and a pre-K through 12 certificate, substitute certificate. My background is in banking. Before I retired from that, I was a 29-year veteran of the banking industry with commercial and retail banking experience. I left the banking career because I retired, and I ran for council in Oro Valley, and I served 1 term in Oro Valley, and then I took a recess, if you will, and now I've come back to run for council again in serving. Currently, I am the Deputy Director for the Piña County Community and Workforce Development Department, which encompasses all the workforce development programs in Piña County. I also oversee the Keno Veterans Worksite, which are actually center, which we help veterans that are transitioning out of service and trying to find employment in another career. So I decided to run for council again, and let me back up. I also currently serve on the board of the Tucson Airport Authority, which is a wonderful position, and I encourage everybody to use Tucson Airport Authority. Fly out of Tucson. It's good for the economy. And so I decided to run again because I feel like I can bring my skills. I understand managing budgets. I do it now. And I did a great job, I believe, when I was on council making good decisions that did not put our town in any kind of issue with providing quality service. And so I'm coming back for 3 reasons. I'm endorsed for public safety because I voted on the distracted driving ordinance. And I'm focusing on fiscal responsibility because we do have some budget challenges. And then lastly, strategic economic development. Thank you.
So, Matt Wood. A number of people asked me why I'm running for Oro Valley Town Council. I looked at the people who were running, three at that time, and I thought they all leaned towards the development community. Rhonda had a considerable amount of financial help from HSL in her last political race. Harrington was chair of P&Z and voted for the 75-foot height limit in the marketplace, which was limited to 3 stories by the current town council. And I'm actually not sure where D. Simone stands on those. I want to represent the single-family homeowners who are already here. The OV Path Forward surveys have been very useful in formulating my thoughts for OV going forward. The overwhelming majority of residents do not want 5- and 6-story buildings. I see a lot of candidates talk about smart growth, and I think we all have a different definition in mind. So here's mine. Less apartments and more condos and townhomes in the multifamily category, and we're better off with owners than renters. We're a community of mostly single-family homes. That's one of the reasons we moved here, and I bet that's the reason a lot of you moved here. I've been on the Rancho Vistoso HOA board since 2021 and the president since 2023. Rancho Vistoso has a $3.5 million budget and 6,400 homes, which is around 40% of Oro Valley by acreage. I interviewed for the Oro Valley Parks and Rec Board and was appointed in 2020, and I had that from January 2020 through December of 23, and then again in January of 25, and I'm currently on the board and currently the chair. I've attended many of the town council meetings and I'm a frequent blue card speaker. Oro Valley's finances, construction sales tax, and builder's fees are falling, and we need to make up for that lost revenue, or we'll have to reduce capital spending and/or current services and/or staff. Currently, Oro Valley has a balanced budget, and the core services will be delivered as always for the next 5 years. We're in good shape right now. Some of the capital projects will have to be delayed. Was that a wave?
Thank you so much.
No, yes. That was one of
Oh, okay. So some of the capital projects will have to be delayed, but not the core. The Oro Valley Town Council and staff are pursuing annexing the area around Oracle and Ina to pick up retail sales tax from established stores in the residential areas around these stores. This is a great idea. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to both candidates.
Whoa!
Before we continue, I'd like to note that the additional candidates who are not attending the forum this evening had scheduling conflicts or otherwise would have attended. We appreciate the candidates who are here with us today, and we want to ensure the absence of the other candidates is not interpreted as a refusal to participate. We also want to, before we start asking the questions, to lay down some ground rules. We would like to ask the audience to hold all reactions, including applauses, boos, or jeers, until the end, where we will applaud for everyone to give the candidates the ability to express themselves and you the opportunity to learn where they stand on the issues. We also would like to ask the candidates not to address the other candidates specifically, neither their positions or qualifications. And we ask that everyone respond directly to the question at hand, not each other, so that we can hear what everyone thinks about the issues, not about each other, and so the audience can draw a contrast where needed. All right, I'd also like to ask everyone to please mute your phones. And with that being said, let's get started. Our first question, both candidates will have 90 seconds to answer each question, and then 90 seconds to give us a closing at the end. We're going to start with Rhonda. The question is, what do you view as the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities for the town of Oro Valley?
Thank you. The largest challenge that we have right now is the budget. It is documented in the fiscal year in 2025 budget by the town manager and the chief financial officer that we have a lean budget. And we have a lean budget with the 26-27 budget. This is an issue because when we have budget problems, it interferes with the service delivery levels that Oro Valley residents receive. And so it's a known fact, there's budget issues. How we got there is questionable. And so with my background, as I shared earlier, I want to bring my skills, back to council. The opportunities are obviously in sales tax revenue because that's what helps fund our services. We're going to have to look at doing potential annexations that should have been done for a period of time. They weren't. And so now that planning is actually now on a new council to do it. So I see the opportunities is we are going to have to work with our business community, which includes finding ways to support our businesses and also our tourism, which I mentioned TAA, right? We have 2 beautiful resorts. We've got to figure out ways to bring people here to spend money so we can help fund our services. It's very layman's terms like that, but that's essentially what I see our issues, or the main issue is the budget. The budget is essential to everything that dictates how a town runs. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Matt.
So yeah, the budget, we're balanced now for the next 5 years. It's not as dire as, it kind of looks like. Some of the money that didn't come in that they forecasted would come in, the apartments that are supposed to be built off of Rancho Vistoso, or off of Vistoso Highlands, were already supposed to be under construction, and that would have put a lot of money into the construction use tax side and some sales tax money. The current council is working on that area around Oracle and Ina. That's a great spot. There's a Whole Foods there, there's a Safeway there. They're trying to annex that area, which will really shore up the sales tax money. And what they have to do is convince the owners of the businesses and the owners of the properties there, the residents, to want to join Oro Valley. So they're working on that, and that's a good plan. You can only cut services so much, but the core services we're good on. There's no question about that. And Rhonda's right, the tourism that we're doing now, they formed a new tourism board for Oro Valley rather than combining it with Tucson. And staff and the tourism board think it's going to go well. And that will help bring in some more money. And of course, we always hear about the sales tax leakage, and we need to work on that. We need to kind of rally the troops and make sure that everybody in Oro Valley stop.
If you're at the end of, you can finish that sentence. It sounded like you were wrapping up.
Oh yeah, it's just that we just need to make sure that everybody understands that when you go over to Miranda to spend money, you're going to Tucson to spend money, you're taking money out of our coffers. So you should try to dine local and spend local.
Okay, thank you for. Now, Matt, you will answer this question first. Do you believe the town acquiring the preserve was a wise financial move, and why?
I assume you're talking about the Vistoso Trails Nature Preserve? Okay. Full disclosure, I live on it. So yeah, I think it was a great idea. I gave money to preserve Vistoso. We gave money. It's a great property. It's going to be terrific. But the town, prior to that purchase, had never had that in their budget anywhere. So that the residents around there raised $2 million. The town kicked in $800,000 or so. The apartment, 6.2 acres, went for about $1,775,000. So the total was about 4.2, and that got Romspin out of there. And it's going to be terrific. It's going to be a slow process. I was on Parks and Rec Board back when we were doing the Naranja expansion. And, Naranja is gorgeous now, but it sat there for 20 years. It takes a long time to generate enough money and enough political will to get these things done. So I think it's a terrific property. It's going to be great. It's just going to take time.
Thank you. Rhonda, same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I understand it. Thank you. So the Vistoso Trails, it was a closed golf course, and so it made sense because we talk about the character of our community and how we want things to be to the levels that our constituents expect. One of the things you have to do when you're on council is you have to have the will to be able to ask the questions, even when you have a room full of people standing in front of you saying, I want to have something, I need to have it done. It's about looking out for the greater good of the town. So in purchasing the Vistoso Trails, and as Matt said, the constituents, they provided some funds for it. My concern moves forward with when looking at a pond. Now, I didn't make the decision on the pond, but it's a $2 million plus investment for it. And I would question, if I were on council at the time, do we need to do a pond? The trails are great, but what I would say is with the water issues that we have right now, at evaporation of 4 to 6 feet per year, the cost to the town when you're looking at budget issues or challenges with budgets, how are we going to pay for that? So while I can't say whether I'd be for or against it, I think as a council member, we have to ask those questions. What's in the best interest of the community when we're making such large investments? And I mean that by, with capital investments, because we're a maturing town and we have to look at what are our needs, the needs versus the wants. And that's what a good council person does.
Thank you. I will have you answer this question first as well. Would you support a data center in Oro Valley? If not, what steps would you take to squash a proposed data center?
Thank you. I would not support a data center, and I tell you why. We don't have, first of all, it's not the character of our community. We have industries that we currently work with that bring in revenue. Our resorts bringing in the business to generate revenue. I don't believe the character of Oro Valley would be a good fit with a data center. There are obviously other places, but what I do think is we need to improve on how can we help those industries that are already here and encourage those businesses to stay and expand. And so I would not support a data center. It's just not something that's in the character of our town. I know I have more time, but that was an easy question.
Matt, would you like to tackle the question?
How quickly can I say no? Yeah, the data centers, they use so much water and so much electricity, and it really is not within our character. It really isn't. There's other things we should be doing and we don't have that much land left anymore. I mean, where would you put it? So, yeah, it's a good question because, Marana's wrestling with it, and we always look at Marana and go, what are they doing over there? So, but yeah, no, I would not support that.
And was the second part of the question about what steps would you take to squash the proposal?
If you, our question sorters are handling that, the rest of the questions will be addressed.
Oh.
All right, so Matt, don't get too comfortable. Next question is yours to answer first. If elected, how do you plan to interact or engage with the Oro Valley Youth Advisory Council? I'm looking at a member in the audience, so answer very carefully.
I think that's a great program. It really is. Wish I would have had something like that a zillion years ago when I was a kid. I've seen them in the council meetings. They show up to a lot of events. We need fresh ideas. I mean, let's face it, we have a mature community. So I think it's great that the next generation is looking at it, some things to get involved with. Every once in a while, you'll see some 20-something run for Congress or, anything like that. It's just great. It's not competition as far as I'm concerned. You guys, you need to take over as quickly as you can.
All right, it sounds like Matt is leaving additional time. Rhonda, if you would please answer the same question on how specifically would you interact and engage with the Oro Valley Youth Council?
No. Thank you. On my previous term on council, I served on the Amphi Foundation, which I'm an Amphi grad, so that's very important to me. And being local all my life, I see the value in making sure that our youth are on a good trajectory. And the job I have now, I work with youth with barriers. So how would I interact? Right now, I run a very large 1,000+ student internship. I believe that there's a way to have our youth do internships with our local businesses and to have those business owners, be engaged and let you get exposure, because that's how I think students decide what they want to do. And even then, I think they change their career 4 times over their lifetime span, right? So I think that engaging youth, but I also think we need to listen to what the youth want. What is it that would help you, right, grow and do the things that you want to do in your community? So I think engaging with listening, trying to understand what's important to the youth nowadays, because it certainly might be different than when I was in school, and that was a long time ago. So it may be different, and I think it's worth that. And I also, too, would think it's important to engage the parents. Parents are a huge part of that. So I think we look at internships, we engage you with local business. I also think volunteering. How do we look at finding ways to volunteer, maybe even more than we do? We do have youth that are involved in our patrol programs, but I think there's opportunity there.
Thank you. All right, and the next question is yours to answer first. What is your vision for protecting and providing water for Oro Valley's future?
Thank you. So having served on council before, you'll see on my palm card, we passed what's called the Northwest Recharge and Recovery Project. That was a long-term project that's now coming to fruition. And what that did, it was a partnership between Marana and Metro Water to bring our allocation, Oro Valley's allocation of CAP water, to allow us to preserve our groundwater that we currently have. And so at the time, I think it was a very innovative program, and it is going to serve our constituents well. I value that, which is where my comments came from earlier when I mentioned the pond. Not against it, but is it the right thing to do? And we have to ask those questions. So you'll find that I am very water conscious about what we do. And so I think we need to work with the community. Our water department and our constituents do a great job of saving water and working on conservation, but I also think we need to not get lax. We need to continue to go to the community and engage them to figure out how we can continue, right, to have good water conservation. So, and I also think projects, being very mindful of the type of projects that we are mindful, right, of the water use. There's certain things we have to do with projects, but I also think, again, I go back to asking the questions and being very mindful of the decisions that are made that are going to be a large water source or large user of our water. So that is what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, same question.
Thanks. So as the Rancho Vistoso HOA president, we looked at our monuments on Tangerine. Also, we're looking at the ones on Oracle too, but on Tangerine, we took out the turf and we put in rocks and boulders. So it would look nice, but we were using a tremendous amount of water keeping that green. And I'm like, this is just dumb. We've also gone in all of our parks, we rotate and we don't overseed all of the parks anymore. We overseed some, but we rotate that around. So we're doing a lot of water saving there. As far as cap water, yeah, we're going to have a 20% reduction in cap water. The wheeling project that, bringing that cap water through Tucson and now to Oro Valley is terrific. That works very well. But the cap water is the most expensive water that we have. And one of the reasons our water rates keep going up. But our water rates are less than the other towns around. So they're doing a really good job. My big concern on water is, we really don't have a lot of extra. So if we want to do that 880 acres out there by Thornydale and Shannon, that's going to use up a lot of the reserve water that we have, and it could get kind of dicey according to Peter, the water guy for the town. So You're about to hit me with a stop, I know.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to combine these two questions because I think they can be quick answers for our audience, and I will allow you to use the rest of your time to elaborate if you so choose. The first question, Matt, is would you support a detention center in Oro Valley? And the second one is, do you support a zoning variance for Oro Valley Church of Nazarene Sports Arena?
Is that me?
That's
Yes.
you.
Oh. What was the first one?
Would you support a detention center?
Oh, no. That's easy. Yeah, we don't need that. We actually, if you are incarcerated by the municipal court over here, they have a deal with either Piña County or, I think it's Piña County, and they just rent a space and put you in there. So we've already got that covered. We don't need that here.
Okay.
As far as the Church of the Nazarene, I think that's already been settled. They bought property down off of Twin Peaks, and they're going to build what they wanted to build down there. So
Perfect.
issue resolved.
Same question, Rhonda. Would you support bringing a detention center in Oro Valley? And same question about the church.
Okay, thank you. Again, it goes with the data center. It doesn't fit the character of Oro Valley, having a detention center here. I think there's other areas that, are doing that, and so we will let them do that. When it comes to the decision for the church, that decision was already made. But I would like to elaborate that oftentimes, I think where, the fact that we've got that question tells me that there was maybe some contentions, about it, and we know that. What I would say to that, that's where leadership comes in. It's incumbent when you have very difficult decisions to make that we try to bring the community together and solve the issues rather than, where things get divisive and they create such a rift that we can't move past it. And so that would be what I would say is, what I would bring is with contentious issues, and I've been involved in some of those, is to bring the leadership and try to bring people together, because there's an answer there somewhere. There's an answer there. And when you look at private property rights and things of that nature, there's things that we have to abide by, right, as a town, but it doesn't mean that we can't have conversations and help people figure out how to get to the right answer. So, thank you.
Next question is, if you received a $500,000 grant to use any way you want it, what would you do with it and why?
This is to me, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So $500,000. Right now, based on what I know of the budget, I would look to put it towards, we're good with parks. We have enough park and open space that we don't need any more of that. What I would put it towards is looking at what are the needs of what we currently have to take care of. And I would put it towards that. I would also put it towards programs that, such as our youth programs, right, or other programs, arts programs, putting it towards program-related things that are going to benefit the community that don't necessarily always get the money because there's other more important needs. So I think that's how I would look at investing the $500,000 grant. And again, it goes back to needs versus wants, and what are the priorities that are going to be best suited for the town? Because once that money goes, it goes, and so it has to be spent wisely. Because again, we go back to services, right? Our core services that we receive, we have to make sure that we're having those at a level that our community expects. So that's what I would do. Make sure things are in order.
Thank you. Matt, if you got that check, what would you do with it?
So, I've been on Parks and Rec forever, right? So they're going to get some. I would think about just splitting it between Parks and Rec and the new police building, and I think that would take some of the pressure off of the capital projects that haven't gone gone as well. So I would kind of distribute it there.
Okay, next question, you'll answer first. What have you found are the biggest misconceptions held by voters with respect to the issues you deal with?
They think this job's easy. I mean, you really look at it, and it's a balancing act in that town council. I watch those people struggle with what's going on, and you get 100 people in there, all with a blue card saying the same thing, and you go, geez, there got to be a better way of doing this. So anyway, I think, as far as I'm concerned, I would do more outreach to try to get to the people and try to get a better idea of exactly what they want. And I think it's important that people know what the consequences are. I'll give you a quick example. In Rancho Vistosa, we had streetlights all along Rancho Vistosa Boulevard. And we wrestled with what to do with them for 3 years. They were failing. And I said, okay, send out a letter saying, do you want the lights or don't you? So we sent out a letter to everybody in Rancho Vistosa, and it came back about 50-50 wanting the lights or not. And I go, okay. Send them an email telling them that if we take them down, it'll cost $250,000. If we have to fix them, it's going to be between $750,000 and $1.5 million, maybe $2 million. And it came back, 95% said, take them down. So we communicated, and we got an answer, and we did what the members wanted. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Thank you. Rhonda, if you would answer the same question, let me know if you need me to repeat it.
Would you repeat it, please?
What have you found are the biggest misconceptions held by voters with respect to the issues you deal with?
So when I was on council, I'm in an elephant in the room. It was mentioned earlier. It's development. There is this misconception that has been brought about by who knows, right? But it's caused a tremendous amount of angst that we're anti-development. Developers are awful. There's money involved. Well, as a banker, I was bonded for 29 years, so there's no issue with development money. That I can tell you. We, as a community and as leaders, we need to bring the community together to work with the development, because we're in a place right now. You hear the council, you hear people that are running, talking about annexation. There's development that's going to be involved. And so I think there's been a disservice for looking at development, right? It's the homes we live in. It's the businesses we patronize that we love in this community. It's about development, and it's been demonized. And I'm not saying that you let every development go wild. That's not what it's about. What it's about is coming together as a community to say, what do we want, and who are the people that we want to work with that development. How many of us go to a business and pay money? We do, right? So I'm going to do a paradigm shift here, and I'm going to get time out, but do a paradigm shift here. We actually pay developers, and the way that we do that is because developers own the commercial real estate. The businesses that we like to go through, whether it's our local dry cleaning and others, they pay money to the developers, and we pay the businesses to get the services we want.
Thank you,
So we can be
Rhonda.
choosy. Thank you.
Without a dedicated property tax, how do you propose to increase sales tax revenues as Oro Valley becomes landlocked? And that would go to you.
Okay. So as we talked about earlier, the sales tax. So there's different funding streams that we have for sales tax: construction tax, basic sales tax, it's retail, TPT tax, transaction privilege tax. We have to find a way also to bringing people here, right, to be able to generate tax, otherwise, or taxes, so that we can pay for our core services. The way to do that is you have to have rooftops, and that goes back to the developer question, right? It's people want to be here, they want to live here, and they're going to spend money here. The leakage that was talked about earlier, going to Moran and other places, they're going there because maybe we don't have those businesses to be able to generate the revenue. And so it's a financial management is what it is. And so we have to look at annexations, but again, the areas that we're going to annex, they have to want to come to Oro Valley. So there's some of that too we have to look at. The annexation, the 880, the water, yeah, we do have to look at water. We do have an assured water supply. So again, I go back to, we have to make sure that we're being mindful of how we're going to grow to be able to bring in revenue, because otherwise we will have a property tax. Because it's guaranteed, if we want to have the high level of services that we have to be able to pay for it. So throughout time, the development has paid for itself, and in addition, given us the opportunity to draw revenue to pay for our core services. Thank you.
Matt, same question.
Go ahead.
Without a dedicated property tax, how do you propose to increase sales tax revenues as Oro Valley becomes landlocked?
Okay. So, yeah, the annexation, of course, I already talked about the Oracle and INA. They're working on that. I think that's a terrific idea. That's a great place to start. We need, more retail businesses in town. I think one of my concerns, and I hear it a lot, that there's Oro Valley's hard to do business with. And I've heard it a bunch of times from a lot of different people, and I don't know the answer. I even asked one of the town staff one time, and I got kind of not much of an answer. So it's a stigma that I think we really need to work on. And I think that's part of the solution. Part of the solution, is to, of course, the sales tax leakage. If we can get more people to shop in Oro Valley instead of going across the border, that would be very helpful. And I think everybody needs to understand that. As far as the other annexation, all that property between Shannon and Thornydale, there would be a lot of money generated early on, but I think in the end, there's going to be a problem with water, and there's going to be a problem with, we have to have a lot of more services going out to that area and pay for those. So money now, it's going to be a strain later. So that one really needs to be analyzed more, at least for me, more than I've seen so far.
Thank you. But don't go far. If elected, what 3 things would you aim to accomplish in your first 100 days?
Yeah, what's the restroom code? Again, I think, finding out why there's this stigma that Oro Valley's hard to do business with. That's a big one for me. I've heard it, like I said, from a few business owners. So I think that's one. I'd like to get a little more involved with the new tourism group. I think there's something to be made there. That's a good idea. It's just for us rather than sharing with Tucson. And again, I think that annexation of that area around Oracle and INA is something that we really should work on and really get a good start and get a good understanding if it's even reasonable or not.
Okay, thank you. Rhonda, same question. If elected, what would you accomplish first?
Great, thank you. So first and foremost, I think I said my 3 priorities were public safety. So definitely I ensure that because our public safety is an economic driver, right? It keeps our appraised values high, and so we make sure they're keeping our community safe. So got to have the resources. The other piece is the fiscal side of it. I think the budget needs to be reviewed. We need to look at areas first instead of, everything's in tandem. So while you're looking at annexation, you have to be looking at the budget and where you can look at expenses that don't impact the service delivery levels. So I would definitely think we'd have to look at the budget and prioritize. We got to stop the debt. We've got a tremendous amount of debt, and we need to make sure that we're not doing any more. And I don't think we probably could get any more debt because we got to be able to pay for it with sales taxes, with the debt service. And then lastly, I would like to bring the community together with our business community, our stakeholders, and really have a good conversation, just like we're doing here today, where you're coming together, and let the community ask our stakeholders, and let the community say what's important, but have those conversations, because I think that, and include the town staff too, because subject matter experts are what help put us at ease to understand what's viable and what's not. And so I think that would be my three that I would look towards, because having sat on council before, I have a good understanding of what goes on. And we just need to look at where we can take things differently.
Thank you. What is your commitment, Rhonda, to Council on Your Corner?
I think it's great. I think Council on Your Corner, and for those that may not understand, Council on Your Corner means that you go out to the community, you do outreach to the community. I think it's necessary, and I think we're in a place nowadays that, again, I go back to leadership. We have to be able to have the conversations, hear people out, but also, too, I think it helps minimize things when people understand why we do what we do, and also how we do it. And I think that it's going to be extremely important. And I would support it, and I would be one of the first ones to say, let's do it. And maybe we do committees. Maybe we form a committee for a Council on Your Corner committee, the 3 Cs. So I think I would support that, absolutely, and be a part of it.
Thank you. Same question, Matt.
I think I've been doing it already. Yeah, when I was out collecting signatures, I learned a lot. And then now I've been walking through neighborhoods and talking to people, and there's a lot of info out there. I think it's a terrific idea. I think we need to know what the town wants, what the residents want. It's absolutely imperative, and happy to do it. I enjoy talking to people.
Excellent. Thank you. Your next question is, if the town had to cut services, what process would you propose?
So, I mean, there's core services that you can't cut. I mean, you have to have. We have to have our public safety. We have to make sure that we maintain our roads. If we don't maintain those roads the way we've been doing it, and by that, we slurry seal 20% of the roads every year. So every 5 years, you get a new surface on those roads. And that makes the roads last a lot longer. If you've driven from here into Tucson and all of a sudden you think maybe you've got a flat tire, that's kind of what's going on there. Those roads are rough out there. So you just can't save any money there. So then you got to look at everything else. And this last year, we looked really hard at the Parks and Rec rates we were charging and realized that we hadn't been raising the rates and differentiating locals versus out-of-area people. So we raised the membership fees and all of the fees for Parks and Rec for people that don't live in Oro Valley, because Oro Valley's covering, your taxes are covering most of it. So that was a good idea. You always have to look at staff, but you can't save enough with getting rid of staff in order to shore that up. It's got to be, you have to look at the whole thing and make decisions that are going to be hard.
Thank you, Matt. Rhonda, same question?
Thank you. There's operating expenses that can be looked at immediately, right? There's no doubt you can start making the cuts. I think when you start looking at core services, Oro Valley residents are very, very used to having a high level of service. I wouldn't do it with public safety because, again, safety is community-centric, right? But there's areas where you can cut back, and it may be areas where it's going to cause a lot of heartburn for people. So I'm going to go back to, that is going to be something, we can do the internal cuts and look at those expenses, but there also comes a time, if you're cutting community services that affect people, I think we need to bring the community in. If they are severe cuts, like what you're talking about, that would be something that would be a community, I think there should be community input. And I'm going to give an example of doing the community outreach. Back in 2017, we did a bond proposition to build out Naranja Park, and it was a 20-year sunset to tax the community. We gave the community a choice. Do you want to do this? Do you know it went down 70%? That's an example of giving the community the ability to decide what they want. And so I think it's an in tandem kind of management. We do immediate, but we also have long-term, and we have to have the vision to understand it. But I think the community, again, needs to be brought into extreme decisions.
Thank you. This next question is going to be a combination for the sake of time. It's how can the remaining desert green spaces be preserved from development long-term? The person asking the question would also like to know what percentage of land is left, and I'm combining this for the sake of time with the question of how could you stop the building of developments in floodplains?
Okay, so we currently have, is it for me or you? I can remember. I guess it's me.
This is you.
Okay, so I make sure. I want to start first. So 5% is pretty much left. Everything else is built out. When you look at open space, the only thing, I mean, private property is everything but the open space, right? So the way to manage that, and if I understood the question correctly, is what do we do to maintain it, right? Is that the question?
Yes, preserving
So we
it.
currently don't have a lot of open space to, right, worry about. That's why we're talking about annexation, because we don't have property to build out. So the question becomes, what is allowable, right? And if we don't have it to keep it open space, then we can't, we just can't. We can't keep it as open space. So I really think that's where it comes into looking at having additional areas. But open space is just that. It's not land that's owned privately, and there's not much of it left.
And then if you can spend the last few minutes answering what would you do to stop the building of development in floodplain?
Well, it's not, okay, if you have private property, floodplain, there's things you can't do in floodplains by law, but if you have private property that borders or isn't aligned to it, we have to be mindful as a council that we're not infringing on private property rights, but also ensuring that we're maintaining the integrity of the project, if that makes sense, because floodplain is very sensitive when it comes to federal and state and even local law.
Thank you. Matt, same question.
Yeah, the floodplain that's a federal insurance issue. You can't build in there unless you meet all of these conditions, and mostly that's between Piña County and the feds making sure that you can build down there. So it's really pretty well handled by the zoning and the property owners.
And your thoughts on preservation?
Oh, the preservation, yeah. So in Oro Valley, I mean, you have to, when you do a new development, 30% has to be open space. So, I mean, that's all been done throughout the area. Now you have very little area left to do. And I think it's still important to have that. I've seen some of the planning and zoning presentations for, like the middle school that was below Safeway. They wanted to put 59 houses on there, and it ended up with like 70% open space just because of the way the land lays, and you can't build in the parts that are probably going to erode. So that's a tough area right in there. But yeah, we need to protect our open spaces, but we've done it. We've done a really good job of it, and that's why Oro Valley is Oro Valley.
Okay, thank you, Matt. As the next question says, as a new resident, I've seen conflicting information on whether we use reclaimed or potable water for the golf courses and parks. Does Oro Valley use reclaimed water?
Yes. Okay, so the reclaimed water goes to the two Elcon golf courses, the 36 holes that are around the community center. It's also used at Naranja Park and Riverfront, I think, and I think James D. Craig. It's not used at Push Ridge, and the reclaimed water will be the water used to fill the pond at Festoso Highlands. So, and basically we're using almost all of the reclaimed water that we're entitled to right now. So it's going very well. And the reclaimed water, I mean, it just doesn't have all the chemicals in it. So you don't need that to grow grass.
Okay. Rhonda, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, Matt actually answered most of the areas that use reclaimed water. There's one area that he didn't mention that is not reclaimed is potable water, which is the Push Ridge course. And that essentially has been going on for quite some time. It's been years, right? That was not something that happened overnight. So that is something that's not reclaimed water. But the other areas are reclaimed water, which he said, in addition to the upcoming pond.
Thank you. All right, we are coming to the end of the hour. I would now like to invite the candidates to give us their closing remarks. We do have a question in my hand that is that I think may help them with their closing remarks, so I saved it to the end. What is your vision for the future of Oro Valley? How do you see yourself leading the community to achieve these goals? I think that gives you a nice landing pad to bring us home on. So, Matt, we promised you'd get to close since Rhonda opened. Go ahead.
Okay, so Oro Valley is a great place to live. We do have some issues with our budget. That's common knowledge. So I think if we can figure out a way to get that area around Ina and Oracle, that would solve a lot of problems. Everybody I talk to talks about, why don't we have a Costco? And I go, well, from what I've heard, it's rooftops. And I remember one guy going up to town council with a blue card, and he says, you guys should be up in Bellevue on your hands and knees doing whatever you need to do. Well, there's stuff you can't do in Arizona. You can't just buy somebody to come in and move into your area. So I think, continue to have those dialogues. I know the town talks to those guys all the time. One big retail event somewhere in the sales tax arena would really solve a lot of our issues. As far as the town, God, it's just a great town. I don't want to change a whole lot. I don't want, too many more apartments, that I know some are zoned, and that's fine, but, I don't want to add any more. We want to try to keep the traffic in a manageable area. This time of year, it's very manageable, but in the winter, it's a little tougher. So, and love to have more restaurants, but we all need to go to the restaurants to keep them alive. So that's part of the deal, and then during the summer, those restaurants really suffer. So if you can, we're going out to dinner as soon as we're done here. So we're trying to help.
Is that an invitation, Matt?
No, my campaign's at a deficit. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Rhonda?
Yeah. Thank you.
90 seconds for you.
Yes, thank you. So having been the only candidate that served on council before, I have, I think, a very good understanding of the leadership that's required to move the town in a direction that I think is going to help our budget issues that we're having. Primarily, when you look at leadership, it's about being proactive versus being reactive. And there's things we can do short term, but there's always things, from experience, you're doing things in tandem. It's not, well, we got to just do this now, and then we don't do anything else. So proactive leadership is what I would like to bring to council. The other thing I see is we have to be a community of, one seems cliche, but I think we need to get back to what kind of community do we want to be. I think we need to have conversations with the community to find out. We've got families, we've got seniors, and we want restaurants. We want this, but we don't want building. We don't want, development. So I think we are at a crossroads, and it's incumbent upon leadership to bring people together to figure out what we want to do. The annexations are there. We don't know if they're going to happen, but in the meantime, we need to plan with our community. I do say that, plan with the community to find out where we want to go, because it's going to be some decisions, but we want to bring people along with us. And the council, you do have to make decisions. There's no doubt about it. But I think leadership, good leadership, is prudent, and you're prepared and you make the decisions that you need to make, but you're also bringing the community along too. So that's the transparency that comes with good leadership. And I would be honored to have, whoever's an Oro Valley voter in here tonight, I would be honored to have your vote to serve Oro Valley again. So thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is very pleased to have presented this forum. We are an all-volunteer organization, nonpartisan, committed to educating and assisting the public in ways to understand issues and candidates. We hope you're all feeling better informed today and ready to vote. I believe the candidates will be available if you would like to speak with them one-on-one afterwards. That being said, now we can make some noise.